What is the biggest mistake of your life? Letting fear dictate my decisions. I missed out on many opportunities because I was afraid to take risks. Whether it was a job change, moving to a new city, or starting my own business, fear held me back. I've learned that stepping out of my comfort zone is essential for growth and that the greatest rewards often come from taking bold steps. Just alcohol in general. Every bad life-altering thing in my life could have been avoided by sobriety. It's just kinda sad. I've overstayed my visa in Singapore by a few months now, just didn't really want to go home and didn't think it would be that bad. I've since learned that for anything over 90 days the punishment is very harsh, since this is a problem they have a lot. I'm running out of money, so I know I'd be caught soon anyways. I've been in talks with a lawyer to work out a deal where I can get this over with as soon as possible and turn myself in and get deported within a few days. He has talked with the prosecutor on my behalf, and I could avoid any serious jail time if I turn myself in. But a required punishment for this is 3 strokes of the cane. Apparently there's no wiggle room on that or any possibility of avoiding it once you've overstayed for as long as I have. So I'm likely getting caned next week, which is pretty scary to me. Not taking care of my body. I'm 41 years old and have multiple problems with my body that are a result of my negligence. Not me, but my dad's. Growing up in a small Eastern European town, my dad was a big drinker. My mom was trying to get him to stop, but he wouldn't listen to her. One night he went out to a pub and injured another man in a drunken fight badly. He came home and probably thought he'd gotten away with it, and likely could barely remember it by morning, but the police showed up the next morning and told him what had happened and took him down to the station. He was able to avoid any real jail time, but only by agreeing to be mucked, which was an old school punishment in use there at the time. Basically, the offender would be taken to a large hog farm out in the countryside, cuffed up and sat in a corner of the hog barn, a 15-20 shovelfuls of hog manure poured over him, and left to sit there until sundown to think about his actions. I remember him crying. Only time I saw my dad cry on the day of the punishment as the officers were about to come to the house to pick him up for the drive out to the hog farm. He said this should be a lesson to us to not get drunk. Certainly helped cure his drinking problem. Mom made him sleep in a tent outside for a week after though. Me and a bunch of friends took my roommate out drinking on his 21st. As we got back to the house I said, should we take him to the hospital? He looks really drunk. My biggest mistake was not listening to my gut. He stopped breathing at 8 a.m. Me and other guys performed CPR. He died at the hospital a few days later. Staying in a relationship I was unhappy in for 10 years. I can identify at least 5 times when I should have left. Dropping out of engineering. I had my first taste of adult freedom that first year, having moved out for the first time, and wasted way too much time doing anything but studying. I ended up falling behind, was super stressed, and convinced myself it was because the field was not for me, even though I was fully to blame for not doing well. Now older, I know I was just a shitty lazy kid and absolutely could have graduated if I just applied myself. I'm doing okay now, but not engineer money well lol. Also not sitting up properly on the computer over the years. My spine is fucked and I hate it. My biggest mistake happened in my mid-20s when I abruptly ended a long-term relationship, thinking I needed to experience life on my own. I didn't fully discuss my feelings with my partner and soon realized I had underestimated the depth of our connection. By the time I tried to reconcile, my ex had moved on. It was a heartbreaking realization, and I learned the importance of communication and not making hasty decisions based on temporary feelings. This experience taught me to be more thoughtful and considerate in future relationships. Ignoring a nesting bird's sign when rock climbing in Scotland. Got near a little group of some cute, white feathered birds, which I've since learned are called fulmars. I thought I could get pretty close, and as long as I didn't disturb them that they'd be just fine. Wrong. Once I got within about 4 meters, these birds started rapid-fire puking onto me. All 6 of them, all at the same time. They got my face, hair, shirt, arms, everything. Then the smell hit me and I immediately started hurling. Lost my grip and was just dangling there being sick. When I got down I couldn't get back in the van that had driven us there. The driver stopped me 5 m away and said no way. Water didn't do anything to remove it, it was like super glue. I had to walk 6 km back to my hotel room feeling sick the entire time. Falling hard for someone who doesn't love me back. Still struggling to get over him. It's so painful. Letting other people choosing the major choices of my life. Now I'm middle age and hate my job. When she said come in me, I did. Marrying my husband. We should have stayed unmarried, but I let him bully me into it. And now I'm all kinds of legally tied to his ass. And it makes leaving harder since I also really like my money, and he doesn't like working. Getting surgery for sinusitis debilitated me. I shouldn't have let her get away without trying harder, an age-old story that many others are probably familiar with. But I wasn't emotionally mature enough to say the things I really wanted, and I shouldn't have let her move away without maybe asking her if I could go too. Sure, there's no guarantee she'd have gone for it, and in the intervening years she got everything she was working for. The real regret is that I didn't try harder. Getting involved with my ex-fiancée, she was not a good person and it really fucked me up. Couldn't escape. Tried offing myself after she told me I should because I was barely alive as it is, almost successful. Spent a while in the hospital, and a while in a mental facility. Still went back to her because she begged and apologized. Eventually left, that was 6, almost 7 years ago. I'm still not the same person I was. Not trying to figure out a way to buy the house I grew up in before my dad lost it in foreclosure. Remember telling him I don't need a house this big, what am I going to do with it, as I'm sitting here thinking how I can make more room for an expanding family. I'm glad my parents can't answer this. Not giving up on my mother sooner. Don't try to fix a hoarder. They want change, and trying to help them just leads to a lot of anger and frustration.